Sitting next to me today is a 2016 Audi A7. Now you might be asking, why are you reviewing a last generation A7? The new ones are out. Well, these are starting to become more affordable. You're starting to be able to find them around 35 grand, 30 grand. So I thought today I'd bring you a review just in case you're interested in knowing a little more about this amazing luxury car from Audi. Starting up front, you get a classic look for the Audi A7 that's changed in 2019, but 2018 and prior, you got this front end for the A7. You do get these squint LED headlights up front with this large chrome accented grille with the large chrome Audi rings up front. On the side, all four wheels are 20 inches and you get these rims that come on the premium model. Of course, right here you have the supercharged badge on both sides, indicating that this has the supercharged V6. I'll go over that engine in a second, but they did switch over to a twin turbo V6 that they now use instead of the supercharged one. Over here, you'll also see that you have this fastback Gran coupe design that I really like on the A7s. And of course, you have all the chrome trim on the outside and the chrome door handles to provide that feeling of luxury on the outside. Back here you have a pretty plain looking Audi rear end. Of course you have your chrome accents back here. Good news is unlike the new ones, you do get real exhaust pipes. They are in there. Of course the surround is still fake, but you do have some small exhaust tips in there that do put out a pretty nice sound. Here's what that sounds like. On top of that, you have your Quattro badge back here, your Quattro all-wheel drive, and your A7 badge. And if you open it up, you will see that this is a hatchback, not a regular sedan. Now back here, you get 24.5 cubic feet of cargo space with 6 tie-down points, which is a lot, surprisingly. You also get a 12-volt socket back here with a net to keep your cargo all separated if you would like. You can also lower the rear seats to add a little more room if you would like, and they're super easy. You just grab a handle right here, and you can lower them all the way down. These back up. Of course, it is electronically closing, as you would expect on a luxury car like this. That cost over $70,000, brand new. The taillights are also LEDs back here. On the side again, you get that look of that nice fastback Gran coupe design. I just love it. It gives such a different look to this car, unlike a normal sedan, and it's so unique to look at. All right, hopping onto the interior of the Audi A7, the first thing I want to talk about is how low the ride height of this vehicle is. You are super low to the ground. Now, granted, I have the seat in the lowest position possible, but it is nice being so close to the ground. You feel like you have a good amount of control when driving, and you just feel in a great position on the road. And it's super comfortable as well. Now, most of the materials in here are pretty high quality, all the way down to the door bins, up on the dash. You have this nice brown wood grain that goes across most of the interior, though you do run into some cheaper plastics in here, like here around all the multimedia buttons and some of the plastics down here around these controls. Now, there are a lot of buttons in this interior, and this, granted, this is a 5-year-old vehicle, but even for the time, I feel like there's a lot of buttons on this interior. I feel like a lot of these could have been gone away with and could have been placed in a better organization than how it currently looks. Of course, since this is the prestige trim level of the A7, you get the heated and cooled seat functions. You also get quad zone climate control for front and back. You even have individual fan control and fan speed control for the front and back for seats. As for storage in here, your door bins are a pretty decent size. Your glove box is a decent size, not too large, but your center console just isn't the largest. So if you care about center console space, don't count on it, because the A7 doesn't have tons. As for connectivity, you have a 12-volt socket in here and 2 USB Type A with an auxiliary port right there. Of course, if you want to let more light into the cabin of the A7, you have this sunroof. It doesn't stretch all the way back like on some newer vehicles, but it can let in more light, and it is tinted to make sure you keep the blistering sun out of your eyes. This also comes with a Bose audio system that does sound really good and really bassy, and you have a lot of customizations over the treble and all the equalization of the audio settings as well, and it connects back all the way to the Audi's MMI system right here, which does feel a little dated even for the time. BMW's iDrive system was even better in 2016 when this was out. So yeah, I think Audi was a little behind the curve. Nowadays it's a lot different. Audi's system is spectacular compared to other brands out there. I would say even more than BMW or Mercedes infotainment system. As for the technology in this car, like I said, the infotainment system is a little dated, but what's something I do like is the cockpit in the gauge cluster. Now, of course, this isn't like newer Audis nowadays where the entire thing is digital, but you do have a nice size center screen in the gauge cluster that even displays stuff like your navigation maps and your Bluetooth audio. You can even scroll through songs that are queued up in your shuffle list or whatever you have, no matter what's connected. If it's connected by Bluetooth, you can shuffle through all your songs using the infotainment system in this vehicle in the gauge cluster, and I absolutely love it. This car has also a large amount of exterior cameras. If I pop it in reverse here, you will see that you get, of course, the normal backup camera, but you can scroll through different cameras and see, of course, you have your surround view system that's front and back. You can see the 2 cameras up front that are pointing different directions directly in front of you. You can see behind you, of course, like your regular backup camera, and your 2 cameras in the rear that are viewing the angles of the car. So that is a really cool feature that you have all these cameras, and of course you'd kind of expect that in a 2016 vehicle. So nothing to be surprised about, just something really cool about the car. Of course, you have a lot of safety features in here while driving, which we'll go over more in the driving portion, but you have blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control, and lane keep assist in this vehicle as well. Alrighty, now hopping on into the rear seats, just like the front seats, these are very comfortable and you get a lot of nice materials back here. Your knee room is pretty decent. It's not too bad for a sedan, and you get these nice large back seat pockets. But if you sit straight up, and I'm about 6 feet tall, you do end up running into some poor headroom where your head is hitting the ceiling, so you have to slouch a little, which takes away from your knee room to be able to make your head not be touching the ceiling. Otherwise, you have a nice large center console with some center console space back here, which is nice for some rear seats. And you also have these cup holders right here, which do feel a little flimsy, and it feels like if I put an especially large drink in there, it would fly out and it would get all over your controls right here, and it can be a little annoying to put back in. But down here, you have your climate controls, and below that, you have 2 12-volt sockets right here. But like I said, individual fan control back here and individual temperature control back here, which makes up that quad zone climate. You also get heated seats back here as well. But yeah, the rear seats of this vehicle reflect the luxury of the A7, even though you do run into some cheap plastics back here as well. You know, that's not as much of a big deal as I am making it to be. The rear seats are nice. Another cool feature of the Audi A7 is that you have this deployable spoiler back here. Even on the A7 models, the S7 and the RS7 models, they all have this deployable spoiler right here. So I'm going to put it up for you really quickly. There you go. The Audi A7 deployable spoiler, and it's just as easy to put it down. I'll hold in that button in here, and it drops like magic. Of course, this is connected to a Quattro all-wheel drive system, and the transmission in this is not a 7-speed dual clutch like Audis at the time period did have. Instead, this has an 8-speed ZF-derived automatic transmission that is pretty snappy and seamless when you're in automatic mode, and when you're using the paddles, it is pretty responsive as well. Alrighty, so driving the Audi A7 Prestige. I'm in comfort mode right here. As for modes in this car, you get comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. Of course, dynamic is going to be your sportiest. Individual lets you customize more things on the car individually, so you could have comfort steering while having a sporty throttle response. In auto, the car basically chooses for you based on how they think you want to drive. But right now we're in comfort mode. Everything's in its comfiest settings. The steering is really light, even at these high speeds. And the car is just going over the road very smoothly. Even bumps in the road are very mitigated by the suspension. You know, the Audi only makes, the A7 only makes 2 more horsepower now, 335 instead of 333. And I'm sitting here and honestly, you get a really nice interior on this car. Sure, the infotainment system is a little dated, but other than that, you get a lot of comfort features in this car. So for a luxury vehicle, you get everything you need. And then there's also, it's got this sporty aspect to it that's just, oh, it's really good, even for an A car, not an S or RS. Throttle response is good, the steering's tight, it's a little loose and it can feel a little indirect. But this, for the most part, you got good amount of steering in here, good throttle response. You're comfortable. Body roll is very mitigated. It goes around corners very well. You do get a little understeer in the corner, and it pushes a little out, a little more than other cars like BMWs that I've driven or Mercedes that I've driven. This does understeer quite a bit compared to those other ones. But that doesn't mean this isn't a great car. It is a great car. And you're starting to be able to find these for less than $35,000 with a decent amount of mileage, 50,000 or under. You also get the deployable spoiler, which is super cool. That I've always really liked about the A7s. The A7s have always been one of my favorite cars from Audi, of course, other than the R8. But wow. This car is truly good. It's one of my favorite German cars that I've reviewed on this channel, and I've reviewed, of course, a BMW at this point. I've reviewed the Mercedes. This has definitely been one of my favorite ones, other than the X5, which was just absolutely perfect. But what you're dealing with in this is a dated infotainment system, and that's about it. Other than that, this is still a really good and really fun car to drive. So if you're looking for an A7 and you don't want to spend the 60 grand used on a brand new one, and you want something from, 30 to 35, these A7s can really deliver a good experience when driving and in the comfort sector. The passing power, it just picks up. Transmission, of course, I just shifted manually, and it's snappy and responsive and engaging. Honestly, yeah, supercharged V6, get a little bit of that whine from the supercharger, especially when you're revving it at idle, and it provides a good amount of torque even down low, and you're not fighting for that horsepower. It's a quick revving car, so even though you're reaching that 333 at 6,500 RPMs, you're still getting a lot of power out of this thing. So yeah, if you want a good driving car, the A7 could definitely fit within your guidelines. And that is the 2016 Audi A7. It might as well be a 2017 or a 2018, but this is the Audi A7 from last generation. If you're interested in a decently affordable luxury car nowadays, then this might be the one for you. Make sure to add this to your list. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers, so for everyone who subscribed, thank you for watching. There will be a special video we're going to be releasing soon that's all cinematic and crazy looking, just for you guys, just because you helped us get to 1,000 subscribers, and we really, really appreciate it. Make sure if you like this video to hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more from us again, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.